This is the July 2021 biannual Georgia FAASTeam or FAASTeam Representative meeting. Hopefully everyone has fared well the last 6 months. As always, the objective of conducting this meeting is to promote representative interaction, communication, and to exchange ideas on how better to administer the program throughout the state. Our agenda today is the standard yearly topics, and as follows, we'll talk about 2021 year updates, FAASTeam directory, SPANS or the Safety Program Airman Notification System, a FSDO activity report or commonly referred to as our health report, the National Program Plan or NPP, and pilot deviations, remedial training, representative activity, and other information as deemed. The FAASTeam representatives are required to have completed the online course ALC 297 Representative Training IT Security. Update. We have a new database contractor and analytic. The system will automatically change your designation from representative to service provider if yearly training is not completed. Again, that is the IT security and attending the biannual meetings. Keep in mind, the FAASTeam representative appointment is for 1 year and based on need, activity, and completion of ALC 297 representative training IT security. If this course is completed, the appointment can be renewed for an additional 1 year period. Let's talk about SPANS management, Safety Program Airman Notification System. This was developed to help disseminate safety information to airmen on behalf of the FAA safety team and its members. Safety programs, seminars, meetings, and events should be carefully planned and properly presented, and as representatives, you are encouraged to schedule, organize, and conduct safety meetings, events, clinics, workshops, or panel discussions. SPANS is the primary source of publicity for FAASTeam activities. Has required that all SPANS announcements contain the following statements, and you see the statement in red prior to attending a safety seminar. Please review and abide by current CDC, state, and local health guidelines. So if you're doing a SPANS announcements, ensure that you include that statement. Currently, the Atlanta FAASTeam is still located at the following address: the Atlanta Tradeport, Highwoods Building. And the FAASTeam program is supported by Thomas Vittemore, who is the office manager of the Atlanta Flight Standards District Office, and Valerie Palazzolo of the FAA Safety Team, and she is the national manager. The mission of the FAA Safety Team, or the FAASTeam, is still the same. Lower the nation's aviation accident rate by conveying safety principles and practices through training, outreach, and education, while establishing partnerships and encouraging the continual growth of a positive safety culture within the aviation community. We'll now cover the Flight Standards District Office Health Report or Activity Report up to third quarter 2021. If you have attended our FAASTeam members presentation earlier this year, the following slides will be familiar to you. We have updated the data as it relates to aircraft accidents, incidents, and pilot deviations for this quarter. This report contains the statistics and charts that we submit to our management group for briefing so they can make risk-based decisions how to minimize and mitigate aircraft accidents. The FSDO activity report chart is pretty explanatory. Here we have the 2020 quarterly breakdown of aircraft accidents, incidents, and fatalities through first, second, and third quarters of 2021, along with serious injury, minor injury, and the number of no injury. The red numbers along the bottom are the totals thus far for the year. Third quarter, we're looking at 7 aircraft accidents, 4 aircraft incidents, 1 fatality, 1 passenger with serious injury, 3 passengers with minor injury, and 15 passengers with no injuries. And thus far in 2021, we have 24 aircraft accidents, 16 aircraft incidents, 8 fatalities, 2 passengers with serious injury, 18 passengers with minor injury, and 29 passengers with no injury. And here is a knowledge point. Aircraft accidents are defined as aviation mishaps where loss of life or substantial damage is done to the aircraft. And the determination of substantial damage is flexible, and the aviation safety inspector will make that determination during the investigation. And finally, on a historical note, Georgia normally averages about 35 to 40 aircraft accidents yearly. This chart shows the aircraft accidents, incidents, and fatalities year over year from 2015. The takeaway here is in 2021, we had a reduction to 29 accidents, and we can attribute this to the reduced flying during peak travel season. And according to our executive summary, our report alluded to the projected reduction in aircraft accidents and the accident numbers. We still had favorable weather predominant throughout the year, and the number of certificated airmen flying between the ages of 46 and 65. Incidentally, for the FAASTeam, this is pretty much our target audience. It is the area and the age group where we see the most accidents. In case you're wondering why, this group has disposable income for flying purposes. And as the country gets a handle on the pandemic, and states continue to open with people getting more comfortable with flying, we are expecting the accident numbers to rise. This is a chart of pilot deviations in the state of Georgia. Now we're moving to the National Performance Plan. The FAASTeam National Performance Plan, or the NPP, is one of the tools we use to accomplish national projects and performance goals. We are already sending in comments to the national office for what risk we are experiencing from the previous year. We are expected to see the 2022 performance plan in August. The FAASTeam representatives can aid in support of airmen mishaps and pilot deviation through remedial training and, if necessary, the Runway Incursion Remedial Training Program. The goal of the remedial training program is to gain future compliance with FAA regulations through training, thereby enhancing safety in the national aerospace system. The FAA recognizes that some airman deviations arise from factors such as flawed procedures, simple mistakes, lack of understanding, or diminished skills. The FAA believes that deviations of this nature can most effectively be corrected through root cause analysis and training or education for airmen. If an airman is identified in a pilot deviation and accepts remedial training in lieu of enforcement actions, we can offer the following options to remediate the violation. The agreement that the airman signs states that he will bear the cost of whatever training agreed upon. And in the coming months, and in 2022, we are committed to utilizing the FAASTeam representatives more closely in the remedial training process. Again, we are asking the FAASTeam representatives complete at minimum 2 activities a year for the Georgia FAASTeam and submit a representative activity report. There is no limit to the opportunities that exist to participate in activities. A FAASTeam representative can engage in airman counseling, that's with pilots or mechanics or other aviation professionals. There are safety events that are sponsored by EAA chapters and AMA chapters, flight schools, and maintenance schools. There are public relations at airports or hangars, schools, or even air shows. FAASTeam representatives can engage in aviation education, with groups and clubs looking for instruction and guidance. There's all types of aviation training events uh, based on invitations, similar to the Rusty Pilots, and all types of aviation industry support groups. Also, during your daily activities, if you become aware of an aviation event that support FAASTeam initiatives, simply let us know. Even if you are unable to participate, we have a 60-member team of volunteers at all different skill levels who look to participate in FAA safety events. It is vitally important to send us a representative activity report so the effectiveness of the Georgia FAASTeam program can be determined. If you have any additional questions about the quarterly data, please reach out to me, Roger Williams, or James Jim Chaney. Our information is provided. On to the aircraft maintenance portion of our presentation. For another NPP 21 presentation, Aircraft Preventive Maintenance. Preventive maintenance is the regular and routine maintenance of aircraft and equipment to keep them running and prevent any costly unplanned downtime from unexpected events. It is regarded as simple or minor preservation operations and the replacement of small standard parts, not involving complex assembly operations. A conscientious pilot or mechanic's maintenance strategy requires planning and scheduling of maintenance before a problem occurs. So let's look at some objectives. Let's define it. Who is authorized to perform the maintenance? Records and performance rules, and list some examples. Is the definition of preventive maintenance under 14 CFR Chapter 1. Definitions. The definition of preventive maintenance does not include major repairs or alterations, nor performing inspections. In accordance with Part 91, Part 125, or Part 135, also note that the definition of maintenance under the regulation does not include preventive maintenance. There is a distinct difference between maintenance and preventive maintenance. So let's talk about persons authorized to perform preventive maintenance. Who? The federal regulations identify who may perform preventive maintenance. Remember, preventive maintenance does not authorize the performance of any inspection. Not all pilot certificates issued under Part 61 are eligible. There is an exception for a sport pilot, which we will discuss shortly. We have the holder of a mechanic certificate issued under Part 65. I have a holder of a repairman certificate, the holder of a Part 145, a Part 121, and a Part 135 certificate, a holder of a pilot certificate issued under Part 61. Lastly, 14 CFR Part 43.3 states a person working under the supervision of a holder of a mechanic or repairman certificate may perform the maintenance, preventive maintenance, and alteration that his supervisor is authorized to perform if the supervisor personally observes the work being done to the extent necessary to ensure that it is being done properly and the supervisor is readily available in person for consultation. Several types of pilot certificates, and all types may not do all. This means the regulations do have conditions and restrictions regarding preventive maintenance, which we have student pilots, recreational pilots, sport, private, commercial, ATP. There is also a big difference between performing preventive maintenance and signing off the work for approval for return to service. The Code of Federal Regulation, Part 43, requires a holder of at least a private pilot certificate is required to make the logbook entry. That's approval for return to service for maintenance, preventive maintenance performed by that pilot. We also should mention that Part 43 also specifies that preventive maintenance may be performed on any aircraft owned or operated by that pilot which is not used under Part 121, Part 129, or Part 135 of this chapter. A sport pilot can only perform preventive maintenance on an aircraft owned and operated by that pilot, light sport aircraft, and issued a special airworthiness certificate in the light sport category. They cannot perform preventive maintenance on a type certificated aircraft. Does the pilot or any person authorized by the Code of Federal Regulations know what a preventive maintenance item is or is not? We covered the definition earlier, but we can agree. If that was all there was, there would be a tremendous amount of interpretation about it. The federal regulators had some foresight, so there is a list of preventive maintenance items in the regulation. The list can be found in 14 Part 43, Appendix A. The first 5 of the 31 preventive maintenance actions are listed in this appendix. Removal, installation, and repair of landing gear tires. Replacing elastic shock absorber cords on landing gear. Servicing landing gear shock struts by adding oil, air, or both. Servicing landing gear wheel bearings, such as cleaning and greasing. Replacing defective safety wire or cotter keys. If you like doing preventive maintenance, review the list carefully. Better yet, make yourself a copy and refer to it prior to performing preventive maintenance on your aircraft. We have a couple of slides later discussing a few of the listed preventive maintenance items to identify typical considerations when performing these activities. We are only talking about aircraft operated under Part 91. Holders of air carrier certificates have their own rules for preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance requires record entries. Part 43 speaks to content, form, and disposition of maintenance, preventive maintenance, rebuilding, and alteration records. The 4 listed items on this slide are only paraphrased from Part 43. You must read the actual regulation to learn all the details of these minimum required entries. Also, Part 43 contains a very important additional performance rules when performing preventive maintenance. So what is an instruction for continued airworthiness, or ICA? ICAs provide a way to keep aviation products airworthy. The ICA provide documentation of recommended methods, inspections, processes, and procedures. For more information about ICAs, you can read FAA Order 8110.54A. Advisory Circular 43.13-1B is an excellent resource for acceptable methods, techniques, and practices for inspection and repair. Be aware though, you must use manufacturer's manuals as the first option at all times. There is more to the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 43. Here it talks about tools and test equipment use. Use the tools, equipment, and test equipment so the work is done in accordance with accepted industry practices. Must use special tools or test equipment recommended by the manufacturer involved, or its equivalent acceptable to the administrator. Here we show paragraph 4313B, which is the other extremely important paragraph you should know. Again, this is only paraphrased here, so actual regulation must be read to exact regulation requirements. Shall do that work and use materials that the condition will be at least equal to its original or properly altered condition with regard to aerodynamic function, structural strength, resistance to vibration and deterioration, and other qualities affecting airworthiness. Suppose you read the maintenance manual and it states torque bolts to 50-60 inch-pounds. Obviously you need a torque wrench. You have one in your toolbox, but will you use it without a second thought? The answer should be no, unless you have had this wrench calibrated and you are sure it is accurate to meet its measuring parameters. And why is that important? Regulation we covered earlier. Calibrated, accurate measuring tools will ensure the at least equal and with regard to requirements of this regulation are met, assuming all other portions of the task were done properly. Cleaning and greasing bearings. When cleaning, be sure to use proper cleaning agent. You do not want to spin dry bearings with compressed air. Be sure the grease you use is the type recommended by the manufacturer. Do you know how to properly examine the bearing for serviceability? What about repacking the bearing? Bottom line, follow the procedures and heed all manufacturer's instructions, notes, cautions, and warnings. Finally, don't hesitate to ask your maintenance provider if something seems amiss, or if you are not sure about something. Like wheel bearings, using the proper lubricants on the rest of the aircraft is very important. Be cautious that one grease may not fit all. Don't mix lubricants. Especially check your lubricant dispensing devices. It is a good practice to mark each dispensing device with identity of lubricant. You can perform simple fabric patches, not requiring rib stitching or the removal of structural parts or control surfaces. For balloons, you can make small fabric repairs to envelopes, not requiring load tape repair or replacement. When performing fabric patches or repairs, be sure you know what cloth you're repairing and what adhesives to use. Don't forget temperature and humidity may affect your repair actions. Just follow the manufacturer's instructions. If not sure about something, anything, consult an experienced mechanic or repair station. How about painting? Read this preventative maintenance action carefully. Notice it includes balanced control surfaces. Because painting these surfaces may require rebalancing. Ask your maintenance provider before touching the control surfaces. Also, special coatings, paint may require special equipment, special preparation, application, cure times, etc. Be sure of what you are doing before you act. You can repair upholstery and interior furnishings. However, you should be aware that there are flammability standards or burn certification requirements for aircraft interior materials. Terms such as fireproof, fire resistance, flame resistance, and flash resistance can be confusing. The Code of Regulations, Part 23, and Appendix F list the requirements. Advisory Circular 23-2 Alpha describes how flammability tests should be conducted. Be certain to use only materials from authorized sources with proper test certificates and reports. As applicable, simple activities such as replacing a missing screw in the side panel could cause big problems. There are accident cases where the insertion of a longer upholstery screw resulted in chafing through wire installation or fluid lines, causing interior fires. Repair to composite contour fairings may be difficult and sometimes best left up to the professionals. Not having the proper skill or technique may end up costing you more money in the long run. Note that this says side windows with some conditions. You need to determine these conditions do not prevail. Also, this activity does not include windscreens or shields. Seat belts installed on type certificate products may meet a technical standard order. Be aware a TSO does not authorize installation approval. When you enter your signature with certificate type and number in the logbook, you are authorizing for return to service. This means you are affirming and accountable that the belt is approved for installation. It is also important to check all attach points and hardware for wear, corrosion, and damage. Word of caution, do not assume prior installation is correct and reinstall it at the same way or the same way. Read the manufacturer's instruction for proper reassembly. Replacing a seat is permissible if it does not involve complex disassembly of any primary structure. For all applicable seats, but especially for pilots and co-pilot seats, be absolutely sure the locking mechanism functions effectively and positively after installation. Do a thorough operational check. Troubleshoot and repair of landing light wiring circuits is permissible. However, use caution when choosing the proper wire type and size for a repair. It is important to use proper tools, quality materials, so that the condition of the items or systems worked on will be at least equal to its original or properly altered. Anytime you replace or reinstall a spark plug, you must be certain it has the proper gap clearance. Improper gap may affect fuel burn efficiency or cause misfire. Use the correct tool to clean and gap the spark plug. Plugs also require specific torque. Always check manufacturer's recommendations and parts requirements. Structural fastener replacement is not considered preventive maintenance. Any hardware replacement requires due diligence. Forget about going to the local hardware store. Just because it looks about right doesn't necessarily make it so. Finally, take good care of your engine. Good maintenance is not cheap, but poor maintenance can be disastrously expensive. If you are unqualified or unable to do a particular authorized job, you must depend on competent and certificated aircraft maintenance technicians to perform the job. Always use FAA-approved parts. You can save money and have a better understanding of your aircraft if you participate in the maintenance process. If you do some of your own preventive maintenance, do it properly. Make sure that you complete the job you start and that you make all the required record entries. Money, time, and effort spent on maintenance pay off and ensure that your aircraft will have a higher resale value if you decide to sell. A well-maintained aircraft is a safe aircraft. A safe aircraft needs to be flown by a competent and proficient pilot. Maintain both your aircraft and yourself in top-notch condition. Listed on this slide are some of the other useful publications to help you properly maintain your aircraft. Advisory circulars can be found on FAASafety.gov or on our main site, FAA.gov. Many FAA publications can be found on our sites. And in conclusion, if you have any questions or comments, by all means, send myself, Roger Williams, or Jim Cheney an email. Visit our website, FAASafety.gov, where you'll find not only this presentation, but many other aviation safety related presentations. We have 3 awards programs, GA Awards Program, Wings, and AMT. And you will find information about that also on our website. We want to thank you for your time and thank you for your attention. If you have any additional questions, again, our information is provided here. And remember, finally, your presence and attention here shows that you are a vital member of our general aviation safety community. The high standards you keep and the examples you set are a great credit to you and to general aviation. And I thank you for attending.